Welcome everyone. This is our second day here at the Design Manufacturing Conference, so I hope you're enjoying the sessions and I hope that you're enjoying the virtual booth. If you have questions during the presentation, don't hesitate to use the Q&A section on the right side of your browser. We can answer some questions as we go or keep a list of questions to address at the end of the session. I am David Lefebvre. I lead our group of data management at Hawkridge, and I'm here with Stephen Dawson.
Bonjour, everyone.
Which is an application engineer with Hawkridge System. Stephen has a mechanical engineering degree from Ontario Tech University. Yep. And when he's not teaching a class, I think you can find him, setting a cloud server or doing some
else. Yeah, being a big nerd, pretty much. we're a nerdy bunch here.
Right. All right. So we're here today to talk about data management. You know that thing that sounds boring, until you actually need to find something, and then you find out that data management is pretty cool.
I'm just gonna make sure we turn off our camera so they could see the slide properly. So
yeah, absolutely. So so we have a little agenda for you guys. What we've planned for you today is for you to get a bit of a grip on what is PDM or data management. So we have three scenarios for you guys. The first one is the Windows folder system. So how do you manage file within Windows? What are the limitations attached to that? Then we're going to move into more an introductory section to data management in PDM standard. So introduce the concept of data management with the Vault and the notification, that stuff. And then eventually at the end, we'll get to our fully featured PDM professional, where you get the ultimate PDM experience. So, without further ado, I'll leave it to Stephen to start the presentation. Stephen?
All right, awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm just going to make sure my webcam's off so you can see the slides properly. But we're going to jump into this first section, which is working with files in a Windows environment. And we all know proper file management is important to your company's success. I know some of you have been in projects where people have moved files around and broken references, and you just end up with this big mess. And we're just going to try to give you some best practices in the different environments available with SolidWorks. So this first scenario that we're going to progress through is basically our baseline. We're going to work in Windows Explorer. We're going to see how to work with SolidWorks files and just do a basic scenario of modifying a part and getting David to release it as my manager. So once we set this up, we'll look at some other scenario possibilities. So I'm just going to jump over to a directory I have on my computer. And here we have three vaults, I'll call them. So I'm going to have one for just Windows file management, one for Pro, and one for standard PDM. Now, in my plain old Windows projects, I might have a whole bunch of projects themselves. I'm going to have a bunch of subdirectories. I'm going to have a bunch of files that I want to be working on. Now, it's difficult sometimes in a Windows environment because we can't really get too much of those custom properties, that information in our files very easily. But right now, we just want to open up a top-level assembly and see what's going on. So I'm going to open up a top-level assembly from my file management directory, and it's going to be called liquid propane gas grill, I think. So we're just going to open that up. And if any of you have taken training with us before, you're going to notice that barbecues are pretty common in SolidWorks training. I can't really blame it because everyone loves food. So we might as well dive in here and take a look at what's going on. Now, we see a whole bunch of parts in here. Our goal is to modify the grill grate here. Now, I want to be fancy. I'm from Toronto. It's 6 p.m. now. I just want to imagine eating something delicious. I'm starving. So going to look at the type of grill racks that could be different than what you might typically see on a grill. And if you've ever seen an Argentinian grill, they have these channels in them, these slots. They're like angle bracket. And what happens is the fat and the juices just get dripped into these sections, prevents flare up, and you can use those juices to baste your meat. So we're gonna pretend to be fancy and do something like this right now.
Oh,
So
you're making me hungry, Steven.
I can't tell you how hungry I am right now. A nice beer and a barbecue after this is gonna be great. So, I opened up the wrong part. I'm going to open up that grill grate. So I'm just gonna get in there pretty close, open that up. And just to save time, I've already created a few features that I might want to use to create this slot. So in my first configuration, I'm just going to unsuppress it, and we can see there's a bunch of slots here. Now, not quite the angle bracket, but it'll do for our needs. And I'll make sure I apply that to my other configuration as well. So now that I've made these changes, one of the hardest things when working in SOLIDWORKS without some kind of back end is tracking your changes. And we see people lose their information often. Now, if you've ever worked in SOLIDWORKS and you've never seen the design binder, it's a folder that you can show through your system options. And right out the box, you have this embedded Word document called your design journal. You can also attach external files, like you want to attach Excel spreadsheets, like calculations, all that kind of stuff. You could attach them right into this design binder. Now, I'm going to open up this design journal, and I'm just going to try my best to mimic a PDM environment. So right here, I can see it's bringing in a few things off the bat, like the file name, the material, but I want to, track what I've just done. So I'm going to put maybe the date. I'll say something like 2020-10/07, and my name, Steven, so I can leave a nice note about what we've done here. So created slotted grate from original grate. So very simple change. I might have spelling errors. Thank goodness it's Word. And I'm going to click Save, and I can just close that for now. Now, that's one place where we could track our changes in a Windows environment. Another place we can do it is with comments on features. So if I go and right-click that feature I used for the slot, I'm going to see that there's this comment button. And if I add a comment, I can add images and whatnot, and I can say something like this is the slotted feature. So this is good practice. I know it's not a PDM backend yet, but I can even turn on the icon so that when I see it, I know which features have a comment. And this is better than doing nothing at all. And it is good practice when just working in a Windows environment. To make sure I save this as a different file, I'm just going to do a save as. And I just want to call this my slotted grill grate. Oh, I already have grill in there, so I'm just going to remove that and save it. So new file, I'm just going to close everything I have open right now. So maybe the assembly, maybe that grate. And I just want to browse back into Windows. So back in that directory we have our slotted grate. Now in my design journal, I said I referenced an original grate to create that from. If I come up here, I'm going to see that grill grate. To stick with my syntax, I'm just going to rename this. Oops, I opened it. I want to rename that, not open it, to original grill grate. So some SOLIDWORKS whizzes in the audience right now are going to know what I'm doing wrong. And 10 points for Gryffindor if you're seeing that right now. So we can see original grill grate. Now, here's where the problem lies in a Windows environment. I'm going to go and try to open my assembly again. And there we go. I have this warning. So what just happened is I lost that reference to my file when I renamed it. If we look in our directory, there's two types of renames when it comes to SOLIDWORKS files. There's the rename in Windows, and then there's the SOLIDWORKS file utility. And you can see there's a bunch of options in here, rename, move. It's so hard to remember to use this file utility in Windows, and that's why PDM is really, really important. But if you're not working in a PDM environment, make sure you use this SOLIDWORKS file utility, and it will maintain those references so you don't break them. But for now, it's kind of good that that happened, because now I can just go select my slotted grill grate in SOLIDWORKS and click open. And it should replace that original grate with my slotted one. Now, I should be good to save this and send it over to David to make some revisions and, you know, release this for me. But before I send it over, I want to make sure he has some way to know what I've done. And again, you might have an external tracking document, but this design binder is pretty great. So I'm just going to open up my design journal, and I'm just going to type the changes I just made. So it doesn't seem to want to open quickly, but give it a second.
You know what, Stephen, why don't you just glip me your changes?
Oh, that works for me. So I'm just going to close this. And another problem we might see in a Windows environment is, you know, how are we going to share the information of what you've done? So I'm just going to save this. And David just gave me a call. He said, it's okay, just clip me your changes. So, you know, I'm not going to actually have those saved in my file. So I'm going to close this up. I'm going to open my company chat. And he said, Glip, that's our company-wide chat. You might use Slack or something like that. I'm going to just message David and say, great changes are complete. And, you know, hopefully he knows what I'm talking about. I didn't put a part number there or anything. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And David is going to take over. And we're going to be able to see what he's going to do from here.
All right, thanks, Stephen. So my goal here as, you know, an approver or a manager is to start looking into, well, am I sharing the right screen, Stephen?
Wrong screen.
Wrong screen. Let's do this again. Stop sharing. This one. Screen one. No, still the same thing?
I see a part of a Glip message there. So
oh, there you go. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
I see some Glip message.
Awesome, awesome. So what I want to, you know, as an approver here, I'm getting a notification from Stephen, right? Hey, can you just look at the great changes they're complete? So like Stephen was saying, you guys might have some ways of communication. Maybe emails, maybe a message system. But for me, this is it's not very descriptive, right? So I can go on my company shared drive and start using maybe my my Windows search. So I'm gonna go for great, and then it returns a bunch of stuff, and it might have different, you know, different things. Maybe.
Oh, my bad. It's the slotted great, David. That's my fault.
Oh, is it the slotted? Like, good thing we're on a live video, because I would have to spend a bunch of time to, you know, to figure this out. So now that I know which one it is, and it's convenient that we're just talking right now, I can open it and start reviewing that. So I'm gonna go in there, look maybe at his design binder if he left some information there. But it's really up to me to go look for that information. It looks pretty good. I mean, like I said, information might be contained in the email, might be in the design binder. There's a lot of place to put that stuff. But, you know, as far as I can tell, this looks good. What I'm going to do is, you know, I'm going to verify the material here. The one thing that I want to point out is, you know, this is not very secure either, because looking at the material right now, I could, you know, click on a different material. There's nothing telling me, you know, you're just, you know, modifying. Yeah, exactly. You can use the Windows read-only, those kind of things, but it's not a good way to secure your file. But anyways, from this place, I'm going to save this as, because my goal here is to identify from Rev A to Rev B. So I'm going to, you know, do an _B here for my file, just to make sure I differentiate from the other one. I can go and change the custom property, put that as a B, and it's very manual. It's a lot of manual step to change those things. It's a lot of error prone, like I said, with the material. And at the end of the day, if I'm looking at my project folder, I'm creating more and more revision and more files in the same folder. And right now we're at Rev B. There's not a lot of Rev in this folder. That's fine. But when I'm at double V revision,
double Z, oh my God.
You're right. It's like when I'm gonna have a lot of revision, this folder is gonna get crowded. It's gonna have a lot of files. It's it's going to be hard for me to find which one's the latest. It's going to be hard for me to find those kind of this kind of information that I need. So I think this is a good segue, Stephen, to start looking into maybe something a bit better.
Yeah, so let me just take that screen. And
absolutely.
There we go. So hopefully everyone can see this now. Now, what we went through with David, there were best practices there. He was creating a new file for the revision so that we can have a version of the file. We have that traceability, but there are pitfalls. We have that redundancy. There's now 2 files. Imagine you're at like AA or ZZ or whatever it is. How are you going to look through that many design binders to find the information you need? Hopefully it's been updated. You have all the comments in the latest one, but what if people have changed things? Who knows? It's very insecure and redundant. So again, hard to trace what you've done. Working collaboratively, that's one of the biggest pitfalls. We can be overwriting each other's files. We could be opening files at the same time. And if anyone's ever used SOLIDWORKS read-only mode, it's not quite the same as Windows read-only, and you can actually overwrite files even if you're in SOLIDWORKS read-only mode. So it's kind of scary. And that comes into limited file protection. All of your processes are manual. You might have a company release process that you need to follow. For me, that was messaging David. He's just, checking emails, going through everything. It's not the best system. And again, with search, I'm not able to really look into the custom properties of the files themselves or the metadata. I'm relying on, file name and directory to look for things, and that's not the greatest. So we want to make sure we can automate our tasks as best we can, and we're going to take a look at a very similar scenario now, but in PDM standard. And this is the first tier of PDM that you have available, and you can get it it comes included with SOLIDWORKS Pro and Premium. So if you just want to play with it, you can try it out. We're going to progress through a similar scenario and see some of those pitfalls disappear. So I'm going to jump back over to SOLIDWORKS now, and I'm going to browse into my HRS standard company vault here. So this is just a PDM standard vault. Now in here I have similar directory structure. I can see the same projects here, but unlike what we were looking at in Windows, there's this bottom half section of the screen you might not have seen before if you've never seen PDM. And this part of the screen gives us so much information. I can click on folders and see things like the project number, project name. We can track the folder metadata. If I jump into this directory, I have a bunch of CAD files. I can click one of these files and see that data can be inherited by the file. So I see my project 2 was inherited near the bottom there. And we can also tie these cells to the custom properties of our SOLIDWORKS files so that there's an exchange of information and you don't have to be jumping into SOLIDWORKS to check what's going on. So right from here, I can see revision B, I can see a part number and a document number, all kinds of stuff. Now, one of the really cool things when it comes to working in a PDM environment is the fact that you can work protected. What does that mean? So I want to work on this grill grate right now. I have 2 things going for me right now. I'm tied to a process that we designed in PDM. So right for the standard one, we just created this really basic workflow. It's 3 states, a bunch of transitions, and right now we're in a released state. I want to create a new release so I can make changes to that grate. So I can just right-click this grill grate, go to change state, and new release, just like that. If I want to create a comment, I can say update grate or something like that. And unlike with a Windows environment, all of these state changes, these transitions are being tracked in the history of a file. And I'm going to click OK. And it's going to transition that. And I can see work in process now under the state column. Now, I am able to see the history of this file. If I ever needed to do anything, I can look at the history of this file, and no need for that design binder. You could use it, absolutely, but look at this. it's tracking everything that's been done. What I transitioned, who did it, the date, the comment that was left. And we can even force people to make comments. Now, sometimes you'll get someone putting like ASWD or whatever it is. You got to get on their cases and be like, no, that's not for our company. Put real comments. But other than that, I'm able to go make some changes now. So I'm in the grill grate. To work on this part, I don't have to worry about David overwriting it because I do something called checkout. So I'm going to right click this part and check out this file. When I do that, I see my name show up in the column beside the file name. And this means that I'm the only person able to work on this file right now. No one else can open it and make changes. They can open it and look at it, but they can't make changes. So I'm going to open this up in SolidWorks now. We're going to see that grate. We already know what the top level assembly looks like, and I'm going to make my quick changes. This is the shortened config, so I'll unsuppress 2 features. And for my long config, I'm just going to unsuppress 1 feature. And we can save it, but the real magic is going to happen when we check it in. So we checked it out to take it out to work on. If I want to check it in, I can see checked out by in this PDM add-in right in SolidWorks. So you saw me working in Windows, you could do the same stuff right from SolidWorks. Now I could just right click this file here and say check in. And now that's put this file onto our server. I could leave a comment like before, converted grate to slotted. And there's that history that we're developing, that traceability. But unlike in a Windows environment where we're creating 5 different files for, one version of a part, I can access all of those versions of a part from a single file. You might see this version number column in my add-in. I could absolutely pull an earlier version of my file right from SolidWorks and see the initial file that I was working on. And I can go back and forth. You can absolutely do that. So a lot of power here. Now, the last thing I want to do is make sure I could send this over to David to check it. So I'm just going to get back into my vault just so you could see me do it from there. One last thing I wanted to show you before I do that is when we move and rename files before I send it to David, if we were to, it tracks all of those changes. There's an SQL Express database for PDM standard in the background. It's literally tracking everything. You can see there's a bunch of extra tabs here. There's this where used tab to say what it's used in, a contains tab to say, it might be an assembly or drawing. This is everything it contains. So I can see that this is used in our top level assembly. Now, right now it's called grill grate. We called it slotted grill grate before. So I'm just going to rename this to slotted grill grate. And I'm just going to click off. And I'm going to click back onto the file. And now when I'm back in the where used, we see that reference has updated, no problem, no issue. Again, that's that SQL Express database in the background taking care of everything for you. So now it's ready for David. I'm going to check this in, change the state so he can approve it. So I'm going to submit it for approval. That's tied to our process in PDM. And I might say something like, please check new slotted grill. And I'll say something like, hurry up, I'm starving, let's barbecue. Just pretend I said that. I'm gonna just type hurry and I'm gonna say okay. And now it's off to David. So I'm going to let David take over the screen now, and we're gonna continue on from his end.
All right, thanks, Steven. So, compared to last time, this time, if I am in my PDM Vault log as myself, I'm just gonna log in here. When I'm logged in a PDM standard vault, I can receive notifications. So there's no need for getting, using your company chat. There's no need for using email or anything like that. You get a pop-up. Instead of searching, there's great searching capabilities in PDM. But if I look at this inbox that is in my tree at the bottom here, I have this notification here. And If I look at the latest notification, it was done from Steven today, and then I have his comments that are here, so I don't have to look for that. This stays, those comments here, they stay in the history of the file, so that's great. There's this whole audit trail attached to it. The other thing is, prior, in Windows, what I was doing is I was looking for my file. I was going through a search, or I was going through, the painful Windows search. But this time,
Windows.
right? Well, I mean, it's got some good, but it's got its limitation.
As long as you don't update it.
We know about that. So here I have my file. If I want to open it in SOLIDWORKS, I can click. Those are all hyperlinks. If I want my history, my properties, if I want to just be directed in the folder, I click on it, and it will go straight in that folder in my vault, highlight the file that I need to approve, and you can see it's in pending approval. It's my SLED's grill grades at Rev A. So this is great for me, to find the files. Hey, what's up?
Every time you're saying this is great for me or whatever, and we're working on a slotted grill grate, like I'm dying. I can't.
I know. This
under
is
the radar,
like
David. You sneaky.
This is great. This is really great. Anyway, so from here, it is really easy for me to just approve this. One of the other great opportunity that I have for reviewing is I don't actually need my to open SOLIDWORKS. If I want to review straight from the environment here, I can use my preview, make this as big as I want, and then start looking at the work it's been done. And this doesn't require a license to SOLIDWORKS. So that's a great opportunity to save on license, or to, here's your VAR saying you should save on license, right? But but it's true, you're
an honest VAR. That's the key.
So you're gonna have a manager coming in that doesn't require a SOLIDWORKS license and get the preview, and it can approve from here. Great 3D preview leveraging eDrawing. So I'm just going to change the state of this, release my document, and because I put some comments against it, that's going to stay with the history. So maybe a good work, looks good, right? Something like that. That should probably be a notification comment. But the reality is, it follows my approval process. It will create my revision B automatically. I can, the way these cards are functioning is through workflow, I can automate information to go straight in it. So my Rev B is my data card. I can have my approval that are part of this. I can automate all that information to go from the workflow and my approval process to my data card, and eventually integrate straight to my title block. So a lot less of manual work. There's less errors. It's not error prone. So this is a great data management feature right there in PDM standard. But I think there's more.
Yeah, so can I take that over from you now?
Absolutely.
Perfect. So I'm just going to share my screen again, everyone. So, we saw a lot of the problems we were having in Windows alleviated. All those versions of a file contained in a single part or file, revisions tracked, our company process followed, but there are limitations. PDM standard uses an SQL Express database on the back end. And this is limited in RAM, this is limited in drive size, and because of this, we really only recommend a maximum of 5 users for PDM standard. It is more difficult to automate some tasks. In PDM standard, you're limited to a single workflow. There's transition limitations. There's a single task you can use to print a PDF, but in Pro, we're gonna see a lot more tools at our disposal. So, we're gonna jump into the Pro environment right now. Oh, let me hide that little bar at the bottom of my screen first. And this is the top tier of PDM, the Cadillac. This is, it's awesome. Once I started using Pro, I don't think I could go back, to be honest, but we're gonna progress through the same scenario and just see how quickly we can do so much more in a Pro environment. So I'm going to jump over to my Windows Explorer window here, and I'm gonna jump into my HRS Pro Vault. And right in here, I see my projects directory. Just like before, we have project 1 and 2. There's no difference here. one of the big differences though is once we dive in. There are something called serial numbers in PDM Pro, and you know, best practice, you should be having unique names for every part. These are automatically generated. They're tied to your file creation, they're tied to your processes. So, you know, you're never going to have those issues. That information is also showing up on the data cards. So all of that is automated. There's so much less work for us to do there. Now, when used in conjunction with something called templates, that's when the real magic happens. So I'm going to jump back into my projects directory. And up to now, we've been just modifying a grate. You know, the real way to grill is with charcoal. So let's say scrap this propane stuff. Let's create a charcoal grill. So I'm going to use one of my project templates, grab my project here. And now with this, I get this card that pops up. And I could input information that I want for my grill. So, you know, our customer might be HRS, it's barbecue weekend, team building, and then owner, I might put myself for date. You know, I can set a date for, you know, when the start date was of this project. You can design these cards to be whatever you want, really. And I'm just going to say, okay. Now I can see that built a directory for me. It's put all of that information into the data card. And on top of that, I dive in a level and it even created the subfolders. They're all inheriting the correct information. So I've just taken away creating 5 folders that I might have to do in a Windows environment or a PDM standard environment. So, you know, that's a lot of time saved alone right there. The next thing I'm going to do is just create a whole project from an existing project and rename the parts and update the references in one go. So I'm going to jump into my project 2 CAD files directory. I could have done it from the folder, but I wanted to show you all the serial numbers we're seeing in here. So I'm just going to select all of the parts in this directory and just do something called copy tree. So I'm going to do a copy tree. Now here I have a few things I want to do. I want to send these files, copy them into our new project 3 directory. And I don't want them to have the same name. So I'm just going to rename with all the serial numbers I have available in my vault. So we created 4 serial numbers in our current Pro Vault here. So there's one for document number, drawing number, etc. We're making sure we're using the right ones to rename the correct file. We just say okay, and that's all going to update for us. So now I'm ready to copy these over. I'm going to click copy. Now's that great time to grab a beer. There's a ton of files in this folder. So, you know, for me, it's 6:30 Eastern time. I know there's a few other Toronto people in the audience. So Toronto, yeah, let's get beer. But
you might be the only one, Stephen, that doesn't have a beer as far as you, as far as we know.
I get fired, man. You're my manager. I can't be drinking on the, well, unless you're saying it's okay. I can run away for 5 minutes. I'll be back. I got some in the fridge, but they're done copying. So I'm gonna jump back into my projects folder and jump into project 3 and my CAD files. And here I can see my serial numbers have completely changed. I click one of these to see the data card. I see even the document number serial number in there has changed for me, which is perfect. And they're all inheriting project 3 and charcoal grill from the parent folder. So all of this information is being transferred easily. Now you might be wondering, how am I going to find the grate to work on? This is all serial numbers. Well, again, that's the power of PDM search. So I can go up into my quick search here. I've designed it to use these 5 variables that I could use. So if I wanted to search by description or drawing number, document number, revision, whatever it is, you can plug that into quick search. David's going to show you a search card, but right now I just want to get this done for him. So I'm going to grab my grate, and there it is, CAD-0033. So this is the file I want to update. Instead of checking it out and creating an update like we did before, I'm going to create a new file to show you something. So I'm just going to open this without checking it out in SOLIDWORKS. And in SOLIDWORKS, I've tied a serial number for my file creation. So I'm going to create this as a new file, just say save as. And when I do that, I'm going to see it's going to pull a whole new serial number for me. So I don't have to overwrite that original grate. Maybe we want a few options in this project. So there we go. I'm going to update that, click save. I'll see it automatically checks it out for me when I do that. If I look in my add-in, I can see it's checked out by the admin, no problem. And I'm just going to go unsuppress my slots and check this back in so I could send it over to David for review. So I think I have one more config here. There we go. And before I check it in, there is one thing I want to do. So I'm going to save it and just close it in SolidWorks for now. Now, one of the greatest things about PDM Pro for the big nerds in the audience is that you're connected with the PDM Pro API. So you can create custom add-ins if you want. You can leverage things like complex actions. And one of the awesomest things is that you have multiple workflow potential. So maybe you have electrical, weldments, whatever it is, you can have multiple workflows. You have an ECO workflow, you have a FEA workflow, you have a CAD workflow, you could link them all together. It's just a crazy party of workflows. But back to the add-in, sometimes as a designer, you might be like, well, how much more do I have to do in this process to get this thing released? Well, someone designed this really cool add-in called EPDM trace workflow. And when I use this add-in, as the designer, it's going to tell me, oh, okay, I have to submit this for approval in this specific workflow so that it can be released. Maybe you have different criteria, but at least you know where you are in the workflow without having to jump into the admin tool. So again, there's so many things you could do with the API. Another thing that is absolutely fantastic is the ability to paste references. So I have my two grates here now. I have my new slotted grate and I have my original grate. Maybe you want to have some kind of reference to the original part. All I have to do is copy that original part, and then I can select the new part and paste that as a reference. So 1 second, let me get my menu to pop up and say paste as reference. And once I do that and check in this file, we're going to see that it's actually contained in the where used tab. So I'm going to, or sorry, contains tab. So created slotted grate from original. Check in. Good. And now I can go see my contains tab and my where used tab. And in my contains tab, I see that I'm referencing that original part. This is great for things like PDFs, Excel documents, spec sheets. You can build these references in, and you can even check things in your BOM. So maybe you just want a can of paint in your bill of materials. You can, paste it as a reference. Maybe it's just some kind of spec file, and you'll be able to see it in your bill of materials of your assembly or whatever it is. So let me make sure that my screen's kind of lagging right now. But once it shows up, you can see all of those things in your bill of materials. You can even compare older versions of bill of materials to new ones to see what's been added, what's been removed. So now that we've gone through all of that, I'm ready to send a part over to David. But, I left the office. I was too excited about beer. I forgot to check this in and change that, or I forgot to transition it to submit for approval so David could check it. Well, there's something.
But it's really important you get it to meet tonight, Steven. So I think you're gonna have to go back to the. I think you have to go back to the office.
No, I'm lazy. we might be lazy, but we work hard for a little bit and then we make our lives easier. So we both set up something called Web2. And in PDM Pro, you have access to this web server. So I'm at home right now. I'm ready with my beer. I can log into my vault right from the couch. I hope I typed the right password there. Yeah, that's another best practice. Use good passwords, please. I can't imagine you haven't heard stories about malware. As a VAR, we definitely hear those stories. So please use good passwords. I don't think I used the right one. So 1 second. Oh, no, it was good. So I've logged in. Right from my internet browser, I can browse that vault. So Chrome or whatever you're using. I'm jumping into my projects vault. I can see all of my CAD files from here. Just like in our standard and Pro Vault, we have access to all the information, things like the data card, bill of materials, where used, the history. We can see that all from here. Now, I want to release a part and a drawing that I was working on for David. I can use search just like in my normal vault. I'm going to search my current and subfolders for something called a grill basin, so that he can release that before we worry about the grate. And right from here, I'm going to select both of those for him, change the state, and submit it for approval. And now I can just sit back and enjoy my beer until David yells at me. I could have put a comment as well, but you know, I'm busy. I'm a little tipsy, so I forgot. Can always go back and edit it after. So that's ready for David now. And I'm just going to send him the screen and we can see what he's going to do from here.
Awesome. Thanks, Steven. So, you know, on my end, it doesn't look much different from PDM standard. I still have, you know, my great vault and the information here. I have my states that are showing me what's waiting for an approval. I can use the search here. One search that we didn't talk about is the complete search here. Really like the complete search. The reason is you can get really granular on your search. We were talking about the quick search where you enter, you know, the name or the description, those kind of things. But if you need to look into a specific variable, you can access any piece of information that you might have in your data card or on a file, whether it's, you know, weight, the vendor, those kind of things. Everything's in there. The other thing I really like is I can search depending on the workflow state. And this is very useful, you know, if I'm a manager here and I need to always look for things that are waiting for an approval, I can filter by the state of the file. So all those criteria are, they can be combined. So I can say I'm waiting for something that's waiting for an approval, that the description has, you know, lid on it, and then I can just browse, you know, in a specific folder or the main folder and just build up my criteria like this, just to find exactly what I'm looking for, right? So that makes my life really easy. Different criterias, different things that I need that I can input in this search. Now, you'll see that my search results show up in here, and I still have all that great functionality where I can see the preview, the data card. So from the search window, I can take a look at the part. This is a drawing, so that's easy for me. Take a look. If I had multiple sheet, I could drop down here, and then I can still do my approval right away from this interface here, pass the approval, and then I'm done. Put a comment. That's great. So again, that's doing all the work for me. You know, if I go back in my folder, one thing you might have seen that is a bit different is I have some of those PDFs here that are _A here. So I set up a task automation to my workflow. So every time I approve something, it will generate a PDF of that drawing. So I don't have to go in the drawing. I don't have to change the revision. I can just right click, change the state, and it will automatically go through and generate that kind of PDF for me. I can put the revision in the name, even though the revision wasn't in my name, and just save time. And like I said, having your properties, having your signature, having it create your PDF, all these stuff add up at the end, and all that time saved serves its purpose. Now, one more thing that I'd like to point out, and that's kind of a bit of a teaser for tomorrow. For you guys that would like to see a little bit more about PDM Professional and the capability there is in PDM Professional, one of the things we haven't touched too much on is the fact that you can leverage template for any type of document. So if I want to create a new engineering change, I can right click and create that kind of engineering change with a data card. It's not going to fill up too much stuff, but it's literally going to create that document for me. It's going to put it in the folder of my choice. And then whenever I check this in my vault, it will place it in a workflow that is a separate workflow from my CAD. This way, You can see it's under change request. My CAD was in, approval or work in progress. So that's leveraging the power of multiple workflow and the template. So we're going to talk a lot about that during the session tomorrow. That's just a little sneak peek, a promotion for the, just a teaser for tomorrow's session. But this is also leveraging the power of PDM Pro, where you have template and you have a lot of possibility with different documents. So on that, I'll pass it back to you, Stephen, for
Sounds good.
the conclusion of our
Sounds
session.
good. I'm going to share my screen. And, we saw a lot when it comes to PDM Pro, and there's a reason that we spent the most time on that. And it's just how much potential it has. David was talking about all this ECO possibility, and we were showing you how to print PDFs. It's not even limited to that. You can print step files or create step files. You can output so many different file types automatically. It's insane. Another thing you can do is set up something like a design checker. Maybe you want a quick passover based on company standards for your drawings before it goes to someone to actually check by hand. So many things you can automate. Now, a lot of this is possible because it uses SQL Standard instead of SQL Express in the back end, and that opens up a lot of possibilities. Backing up, you should be doing that no matter what system you have, whether you're in Windows, SQL Standard, SQL or PDM Standard or PDM Pro. It's just a little easier in Pro because of the SQL Standard database. It makes it easier to automate your backups for the tables. Now, you can do so much in automation. You have so much workflow potential. And if you're an enterprise customer, you can actually integrate with Active Directory to manage your groups and users. And managing those permissions are crucial to making sure that people don't work on things they're not supposed to, see things they're not supposed to. I always push least, what's the word I use? Least possible permissions. So you shouldn't be giving someone elevated permissions. Just give them the least required permissions, and that should be good to go. Now, Web 2, another awesome thing you can see. And with that, we have a lot of things to look through. So I'm going to just make sure that whatever solution that you're using, whether it's Windows, PDM Standard, PDM Pro, there's 3 takeaways from this, if anything. Back up your systems, automate your backups. This should be something that you do no matter what. I can't tell you how many times we've heard bad stories about corrupted drives and malware. Just if there's one thing you take away, back your stuff up. Track your changes and protect your files. Those are the 3 main things you want to take away from this section, and hopefully you saw some amazing tools from PDM that can help. Now, there's a lot of questions going on about, how to do things and whatnot. We have some great blog and vlog content. We have training. I'm going to push it to David now to show you the types of things we can help you with. But in regards to the blogging and vlog content, you can just Google us or check out YouTube at Hawkridge Systems, and you'll find some great information. Now, David, do you want to take it over with what we offer in services?
Just a quick note to all of you guys. So at Hawkridge, we offer obviously our software solution. We're demonstrating power of PDM right now. But if you need any help with setting up that PDM system, if you need any help with services about upgrading, about making maybe upgrades or overhauling your vault, those are all things that we can do here. So we specialize in services as well, and support is world class. And obviously, our training for all PDM and data product are great as well. So I just want to thank everybody for attending. I hope you're hungry. and
I know I am.
And I hope
grill right now.
Yeah, exactly. And I hope you learn a thing or two about data management today. And I hope you guys have a great night. But we should also answer a question if there is.
We're closing it. We have a few minutes. We have a few minutes. I think I've been trying to grab some questions as I can, but I think there's a few more in the Q&A section. So in regards to tickets and stuff, yeah, we can help you connect with support. So if you want to submit a technical ticket, you can email support@hawkridgesys.com, and you'll actually, let me type that in the answer there for you.
Yeah. Yeah, and in the question here too, I have one saying that, you know, somebody needs an upgrade to update their version from 2017. These are all.
So I just put your email for that one?
Yeah, for sure. No, absolutely. So reach out to us, and we can absolutely take care of that. That's our specialty.
And if you see this slide right now on the screen, for any of those type of questions, there's a conference email, hawk@hawkridgesys.com. Any of your questions can go there, and it'll be triaged to where it needs to go.
So I have a question here about AutoCAD drawing. So one thing to know about PDM is it doesn't really care about what kind of document you put in it. You can put any type of document. What's great about AutoCAD is you're going to have, through eDrawing, you're going to have previews, and it's also going to recognize your reference when you put the files in there. So if you have reference within your AutoCAD file, it will recognize that. So it'll auto-populate your contains and where used. So yes, definitely AutoCAD drawings in PDM, please.
And then in regard to Nina's question about her her properties, I think, are not migrating into her title block on her drawing. You'll definitely want to check your template for your drawings to make sure you have the correct mappings, and also that you have the correct variable mappings for PDM. So it's just a few things you'll probably need to look at there.
Cool.
All right. So I think we're getting close to time. We might be getting cut off soon.
Let's see what's in the chat. There you go.
No problem, John. We'll help you. We're here. David's a better swimmer, though. You need him.
I think our great jokes got some traction. Doesn't matter for AutoCAD file if it's standard or pro. No, you can put AutoCAD file as standard. You're gonna need PDM Pro. Yeah, you're gonna need PDM Pro for some of the functionality. You know, if you want to use an add-in, let's say in AutoCAD, if you want to use an add-in for like doing a check-in, check-out right in AutoCAD. But as far as putting the files in PDM, if you are in standard, you're totally fine.
All right, I'm going to stop the broadcast, and let us know if you need anything. Have a great night, everyone.